So my name is Dr. Audrey Reiner. I have a PhD in industrial engineering. I currently live in Austin, Texas, and I will be starting actually next Monday as a senior quantitative user experience researcher for a major grocery store brand here in Texas called HEB.
Amazing. And you're
Yeah.
so accomplished even prior to getting this gig. And I'm just so stoked that our paths crossed and congratulations to you. And thanks again for spending time. So maybe if you wouldn't mind just walking us back a little bit prior to you landing this gig, what was kind of happening with you in your world that prompted you to want to get some help?
So I was planning on leaving my previous role. I kind of felt that I had reached the maximum kind of point in career progression. I also kind of fell out of love with the sort of work that I was doing there. So I wanted to pivot to something else, but I also knew that I kind of didn't know where to start when it came
Mm,
to searching. I knew networking matters. So before I actually started my previous role, I had worked as a postdoc. And think
mm,
about being a postdoc, it's fantastic, but it's also one of those you don't really learn how to put together professional resumes. You don't learn to think about like what goes into doing these sort of things.
mhm.
So that's what I wanted to do was okay, figure out how to, you know, put this all together and go from being that kind of ex-academic to, oh, this is a real person now.
Yeah,
So
I hear you. And it's, I think you're a real person, but I get the transition from like
oh yeah.
the educational space into like the for-profit or corporate space. And there's a lot of things that are different in that transition and wanting to like have someone to kind of hold your hand through that and not just like throw spaghetti at a wall and see what happens. I mean, that totally
Oh,
resonates.
of course. So
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And so as you were looking at different like partners or coaching groups to join
yeah.
and career amping among them, what was important to you or what made you ultimately choose career amp over the others that you were looking at?
One of the things I looked at was kind of the consistency and track record of, has this group had success in the past? Is this just because I noticed, when you're job searching, everybody and their mom calls themselves a career coach. And that's not a bad thing, but it's also one of those, oh yeah, um, it can very quickly become hard to tell who knows what they're doing and who's just like offering you decent advice. I also know that I'm the sort of person I need a lot of structure. Um, I'm one of those neurospicy individuals. I tend to do better when there's actual consistent, you know, a thing that I can look forward to and use.
Hmm.
So having that consistent accountability, having that consistent person that I can go talk to, and that is going to be kind of understanding my journey. Because one of the things I found when looking at other folks, um, they're not. I'm not necessarily trying to speak ill of them, but they don't necessarily understand how to tailor their approach to the kind of unique things that I do. And that's something that I noticed. Like, yeah, there's a lot of very generic advice out there, but especially as somebody who's been doing what I've been doing for over a decade, have a lot of really cool experiences, having somebody who can really sit down and help me translate these experiences into something that is actionable to employers. So somebody who, being able to talk to people who used to work as hiring managers is really beneficial. That's something that a lot of other places just couldn't quite offer. So
Hmm. Yep,
yeah.
for sure. That resonates. And again, I'm glad our
Oh yeah.
paths crossed. So
Mhm.
next question is, so you
Sure.
joined Career Amp, yay, you hopped inside. What would you say was one of the first kind of aha moments or first initial wins that you noticed right off the bat?
Oh, so what are the first initial wins? So some of the exercises that you, dear listener, will end up doing, there's a lot of self-reflection exercises. And as somebody who I like to say, yeah, I used to be an academic. I wanted to go the whole, leather shoulder pads, tweed jacket kind of route. And then I went and worked for a defense contractor. But I'd never really thought about what I wanted to do or why I was interested in what I was interested in. And one of the things that actually helped me was to think about, okay, why was I passionate about my job? And why was I passionate about what I did earlier on? Thinking about how to identify that particular kind of role and how to structure that kind of ask, and also the search in such a way where um, it can be actionable. Because
Hmm.
it's kind of at the risk of being a little bit fadic. It's like, oh, I want to be the first astronaut detective. But no, let's actually break that down. Like, I knew I was really interested in questions of accessibility and thinking about design, and kind of going through that exercise helped me land my current role by thinking about, well, because I work for a grocery store. It's like, no, you're not just helping people buy food, you're helping people make that connection. And
Hmm.
thinking about the storytelling about your career so that you can tell more interesting stories. So
Yes, that
mhm.
is such a powerful point because the why becomes the powerful ethos that you communicate to someone about the why you love doing what you do. And through storytelling, as you mentioned, is the vehicle by which we do so.
And it's the vehicle by which, and I will say, because I had several interviews, actually, funnily enough, I had, it was a follow-up from a connection that I had made back in July. Sorry, time is lost on meaning to me. So we were, possibly talking about a contractor gig, and another person called and was like, "Oh yeah, we want to make a contingent job offer." And unfortunately, I had to turn them down. Yeah, it was kind of an interesting situation. But thinking about it in terms of the story, like I
Mhm,
like to say, yeah, I'm a quant UX researcher, so I do numbers. I look at user behavior.
mhm,
At the end of the day, what I'm interested in is I want, the best day and the worst day of your life is going to involve food preparation.
mhm.
And it doesn't matter if you're shopping at Publix or you're shopping at HEB or Kroger or Menards. Somebody is having the best day of their life and another person's having the worst day of their life. The
Mhm.
experience they're having, while they're shopping, it should be, you shouldn't have to get in a fight while you're trying to find chicken breasts. So
Yep. Agreed.
yeah.
Agreed. Well, thank you. Okay, so next question, which is, what would you consider your biggest win going through the program? Would you consider it the offer with HEB? Would you consider it something else along the way?
Um, so I would say kind of proximally, I would say that it is that the offer at HEB, which was like a 5 figure, so like $30,000 pay increase. So quite a
Yay!
lot.
Congrats. That's so awesome.
Which was really amazing and kind of also helped a little bit with my mental health and kind of where I was in life. The other thing, kind of the longer term victory, is taking away the tools of, okay, I had always thought of myself, yeah, I'm an academic. I'm used to having these conversations and being kind of the smart egghead. But at the same time, it's say, how do I talk to people and how do I convince somebody to say, yeah, we want to give you X amount of money to solve these problems? So,
Mm-hmm.
and having that confidence to think about, okay, well, what should I do in order to structure my resume so that it resonates with somebody? And also the self-confidence to reach out to somebody and say, I feel excited about talking to somebody and doing that networking and
Mm-hmm.
making things work. So,
Yes. Well, I'm thrilled to hear about the salary increase. That's
oh,
amazing. I'm
yeah.
also thrilled to hear about the confidence that it gave your what I call your heart and mind, the head and the heart, around reaching out and networking with folks. I think that's just music to my ears, and I'm so glad you can take
Oh,
that with you forever. That's not just for this, you know.
so
Cool. All right. Last question, which is, if someone's watching our conversation and perhaps they're on the fence on whether or not they want to join Career Amp, what would you want them to hear? What would you tell them?
it is worth it. And there are other services out there that you can look into, but the other services, when you're going to be going through them, they don't offer the level of structured professionalism that allows you to have that kind of structured community and have consistent touch points and have that consistent, I kind of joke, the consistent accountability where it's like, oh man, I know I haven't done much this week, but boy, I was able to get this done and people are going to celebrate those small wins. So